Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This morning there were questions and answers. Many fell within the category of frequently asked questions. It's good to take regular, it's essential to take regular association with and training from experienced devotees so that we can understand the basic understanding of Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna is unlimited, there are unlimited questions which could be asked. We can't understand everything about Krishna. Every devotee has their own individual relationship with Krishna. It's not possible to understand everything even about one's own relationship with Krishna. Questions should be asked to elucidate the understanding of our serving position. The only thing, or the only point that we really need to understand is that I am meant to serve Krishna. And once that's understood, then what remains to be understood is that, well, there may be a question about how do we serve Krishna. So questions should be to elucidate how to better, well, at the first stage, to become convinced that we are simply meant to serve Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said that there are two kinds of questions. One is to learn how to approach Krishna, and the other kind of question is designed so as to avoid serving Krishna. So one kind of question is submissive, and the other kind is challenging. Then understanding we have to serve Krishna, but even that understanding may need refinement. Because Maya is so subtle, or our deeply ingrained desires for avoiding Krishna are so subtle, that in the name of serving Krishna we may actually be doing something else. So we have to understand what's actually pleasing to Krishna. What is the proper position of a servant? Bhakti Siddhanta Viruddha Arasabhas Shunile Kabur Chitte Nahoy Ulash. It is said of Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita writes about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only liked to hear Krishna Katha, elsewhere Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jodi ama pratishne otake shabaka tabe Krishna bhakti rikto nagaimeya. He said that if all of you actually have affection for me, then don't discuss anything else but Krishna. Ki shayame, ki bhojane, ki vajagarane, ahar nishad, chinta Krishna balahapane. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further said, whether sleeping or eating or whether observing night vigil, day and night think of Krishna and chant his names with your mouth. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no other subject but Krishna. But nevertheless, Bhakti Siddhanta Viruddha Arasabha Shunale Prabhu Chaitanya Hoyilash. Topics of Krishna that were opposed to Bhakti Siddhanta, the proper understanding of devotional service. Arasabhas, and those discussions of Krishna Leela that mixed up the flavors in a wrong way. Just like eating food. If you have ice cream with vanilla and sugar and chilies, something wrong in the flavor. It doesn't taste proper. So similarly, there are various flavors in serving Krishna, emotional tastes called rasa, and they're not mixable without some it's just all wrong. It's like having chilies and sweets. It's just something wrong is there. Just like if a woman simultaneously has loving sexual feelings towards a man and manifests at the same time prominently motherly feelings. It's a wrong mixture. That's why in Krishna Lila also the motherly feelings of Mother Yashoda, they have a different arena or a different, they're in a different sphere to those of the gopis' feelings for Krishna. They're in a different emotional sphere. They don't overlap. Emotionally, they don't overlap. So topics of Krishna that were against the proper understanding were not pleasing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nor were those in which there's rasa or improper mixing of emotional flavors. An example of Bhaktivedanta Viruddha, topics or conclusion opposed to the proper understanding of devotional service, is as follows. Let us all chant Hare Krishna and serve Krishna very sincerely, and as a result we will all merge into and become one with Krishna. Various permutations of this idea are quite common. Even in Shastra there are presentations which are Bhakti Siddhanta Viruddha. So that's why in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says one should not introduce opposing Shastra. So this point that we should understand how to serve Krishna in a way that he wants us to be served. Well, there are more simple examples also. That Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Palam Tayam, that we should offer Krishna food with love. So if we think, well, let me buy some bread from the store and offer it with love to Krishna, then I'll take prasadam. But that's not proper. I'll go and eat in the restaurant, and just as the food is passing through my esophagus, I'll offer it to Vaishvana, the Krishna present as the fire in the stomach. So it may sound, oh, well, that's very devotional, but it's not. It's the process of trying to sound devotional, but not really surrendering to Krishna. So, one has to learn about devotional service. It's not just a matter of feeling. That's why when that question came up about this morning, about which guru inspires me the most, it's not just a matter of inspiration and then you feel something and then that's it, it's all over. You can get some machine with some electrical impulses that makes you feel happy. It sends electrical impulses to your brain and then you feel happy. So you can take, there are certain drugs which make you feel happy. Temporarily, of course. So the idea that the guru is some kind of drug or some pill that you drop that makes you feel inspired, it's not a very inspiring understanding. Who is going to teach and guide us to surrender to Krishna? This should be considered. So, in our Krishna conscious movement, teaching is required. Inspiration, of course, has to be there, but after the initial inspiration, there has to be some perspiration or application in devotional service. Just like you might feel inspired to go to a college to get some degree. But simply inspiration isn't enough to get the degree. And simply enrolling in the course is not enough to get the degree either. If you think, well, now I'm initiated, so okay, that's it, job done. But there has to be application. Not just inspiration is just the beginning. Then there has to be, as I say, application. This may all sound very heavy. It is. Krishna consciousness it's serious business. It's blissful, of course, but it's not that superficial happiness of a cartoon or Walt Disney show. Walt Disney, they must have had Walt Disney in Tamil Nadu. Walt Disney is famous in Tamil Nadu? Not much. Anyway, the idea, some movie in which everyone's smiling and nice, and that's all there is to it. So we can just do, Hari Bol, and we can have our whole seminars and everything like that. So that's nice, that's fun. But there is also the fact of our deep-seated material desires. So if we're actually to be happy, we have to be Krishna conscious, which means that Krishna conscious has to be wholly for the pleasure of Krishna, without any personal desire. Bhukti mukti spriha yavat pishachi hridi vardate tavat bhakti sukhasyatra katham abhudayo bhavet. Rupa Goswami asks the rhetorical question. Do you have that in Tamil? Rhetorical question. It means it's a question, it's a statement phrased as a question. How could you be so stupid? It's like, if you say, how could you be so stupid? It's like saying, you are stupid, but it says it as a question. So Rupa Goswami says that as long as the desires for material enjoyment and liberation are in the heart, those desires which are like witches, then how is it possible to experience the happiness of bhakti? So, bhakti is not superficial. It is a happy process, no doubt. But that happiness is quite distinct from the superficial happiness of this material world. The superficial dealings with others, in which we try to make everyone feel nice. Of course, demons, they may not do that. Some people who are just complete demons, they act in such a way to cause distress to others. Para dukkha sukhi, they take pleasure in others' distress. And para sukha dukkhi, they become envious if others are happy. So people who are not out and out demons, they may try to live harmoniously within this world. And for them, anudvega karam vakyam, they speak in such a way so as not to give anxiety to others. They try to avoid conflict. They don't want to make people feel upset. So among devotees we may also do like that and be very polite with each other. But that's not necessarily the best way to relate among devotees. By not treading on each other's ego, we help everyone's ego to remain intact. So devotees may sometimes appear to be rough in their dealings. And they may be just out of their own roughness or lack of character. There is another kind of roughness which is motivated by concern for the other person's lack of Krishna consciousness. One thing's for sure, by the social nicety of cultured people in this material world is just to help everyone live together in a big illusion of forgetting Krishna. How are you? Very good. How are you feeling today? Fine, thank you. It's my daughter's birthday today. Oh, how old is she? Oh, and on and on and on like this. Being nice. Nicely forgetting Krishna. And very nicely and politely getting born and dying again. it's superficial. It's politeness. It's not that people, they say, how are you? They don't really care how you are. I mean, they don't say, how are you? They say, how are you to people they consider to be of the same social status. If they consider people below their own social status, they don't ask them, how are you? And someone says, they ask them, how are you? Well, actually, I have cancer and I need 20 lakhs for treatment. Could you give a donation? And the person will think, well, that's not polite to ask me like that. Why should I give him anything? What did he ever do for me? So it's superficial. People, they don't really care how you are. So, yeah, the devotees should go beyond the superficial. Of course, especially, well, in any age, but especially in the modern age, people are very superficial. And modern life makes people more and more like that. It's just like on TV, they change the picture every half a second or so. So the people, by exposure to this, people can't have, their brain training works in such a way that they can't have any continuous thought pattern. In America, the students and the intelligent class are mostly all from Asia, because America is more advanced. The people are brought up on this, so the average American watches so much TV that they are doomed to be unintelligent. People go to America for university degrees, but the average level of education in America is much lower than in most Western countries.
மக்கள் பட்டம் வாங்கறதுக்காக அமெரிக்காவுக்கு போறாங்க. ஆனா சராசரி அமெரிக்கனுடைய அறிவு பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னா மற்ற மேற்கத்திய நாட்டில் இருக்கிறவங்க காட்டிலும் ரொம்ப மட்டமா தான் இருக்கு.
But gradually the upcoming generations in India will be the same because they're exposed to the same TV culture. But in modern America, most teenagers, they can't sit and listen to a lecture for more than 15 minutes. That's the maximum, 15 minutes at a time. Because their mind is so agitated. Their life is spent on the internet. And they don't spend more than a few minutes on each site. Or they get completely absorbed in some fantasy game. To them, the game takes over their life. It's what they're thinking about day and night. So they can't, they're so much absorbed in virtual so-called reality that they don't even want to relate to this world any more than they need to. We can just see the superficiality of modern society, that the word friend is now being redefined by Facebook to mean someone who you run into on Facebook. Friend used to mean someone who you had a very close, intimate relationship with for many years. Gradually it came to mean that someone who you're acquainted with and you say, how are you to? And now it means someone you run into on Facebook. Just see the shallowness of modern society. In the midst of this, we have to attempt to be Krishna conscious and preach Krishna consciousness, which requires a tremendous commitment, which is something people don't have in the modern age. They get married, but they're not committed. They just don't get married at all because it's too much trouble. Or they take a job for some company and then they just switch to another company. There's no commitment. But Krishna consciousness requires commitment. It requires a deep philosophical understanding. But all these words are foreign. All these concepts are foreign to modern people. They're neither deep, nor are they philosophical, nor do they have any understanding of anything. So, well, in propagating Krishna consciousness, the first approach is often, or the first impression is often like that, trying to be inspiring. It's sensual. Festivals and chanting and something that appeals to people's senses. That doesn't mean that it's mundane. Chanting Hare Krishna is spiritual, but It's not that we can just take people and discuss with them very deep philosophy. Generally you find people are just not ready for that. Although Srila Prabhupada was very expert in doing so, he would present basic principles of Krishna consciousness to people who had no philosophical understanding of anything whatsoever. And Srila Prabhupada, he preached daily to his disciples to inculcate in them an understanding of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Much of our outside preaching is we distribute books, but apart from which are highly philosophical books. Srila Prabhupada's books are highly philosophical. The concepts therein are far deeper than anything that most people have ever considered in their whole life. Even if they've read some so-called spiritual books, but they don't have the depth and the seriousness and the realism, the spiritual realism that Prabhupada, the soberness of Srila Prabhupada's books. Apart from that, we organize Harinam festivals to attract people to the happiness of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. In the several programs, public programs, we have this, you're doing this Mutal drama, the drama of the fool. Actually, this drama is a very good way of presenting philosophical topics in a manner that attracts people to. It's appealing to the senses. It's an entertainment, but at the same time, it should have a very deep import. Even this idea of white elephants, Srila Prabhupada's idea of having Western white-bodied devotees preaching Krishna consciousness in India. It's also, it's not a philosophical statement, but it's something that appeals to Indian people. These joyful public festivals, Jagannath Rath Yatra, with the joyful kirtan, that will attract everyone except the most hard-headed people. And even they will also be attracted. If we go to Muslims and Christians and offer them books, they usually say no. They think, I don't want to be converted into a Hindu. But even many Muslims and Christians, they're also spontaneously attracted to Jagannath Rath Yatra. And many, they're actually attracted to the deity worship, although they're not supposed to be. But it's chanting and dancing and festivals that will appeal to everyone. And if we go on doing it more and more, then they will more and more be purified and appreciate that, except the worst demons. So, and these dramas also, they're a very good way of putting the message over. And from this particular drama, people can, the seriousness of Krishna consciousness is communicated to them. So we need preaching on multi-fronts. We should have like a Padayatra going constantly, doing dramas every night in every town and village and every colony and every city. Vasudev Datta should expand into many forms and give lectures every night in Tamil. In this way, gradually, Krishna consciousness can be appreciated and accepted by many people. It seems that we have such a great message to communicate, but it seems that we're so few, and Maya and the force of modern life is so great. But we should go on pressing our message and pray that at some point people appreciate that. So many of Prabhupada's books are being distributed. The message is very powerful. Someday, people should wake up to this. They should have their eureka moment. Wow, this is it. This is knowledge. I never read anything like this before. That's happened with many people. They get a book and then they find out the address of the temple and say, okay, tell me more about it. I'm ready. I can understand. This is what I need to follow. But devotees themselves have to present this philosophy to the public, not just making a drama to make people feel happy, but there should be some poking. Let them know this way of life that you're living, it's wrong. It's not in your own real interest. If we just think, well, we'll be nice, then we become useless. If our idea is that, well, we should only speak and act in a way that, just like the nice people, they say, how are you? And they're very polite, but it's all superficial and meaningless. We should present the message of Shastra, as Srila Prabhupada presented it. Hara bhavastava yavan najignasata atmatavam. As long as one does not inquire into the nature of the soul and of reality, then one is simply defeated in the purpose of life. Heavy words, but absolutely true. So if we don't preach that to the public, then how will they ever know that? Some idea that we just smile at everyone and then hope that they read that in Prabhupada's books. But among ourselves, we all also have to preach this. Because it's not just that by walking in the door of an ISKCON temple, all of a sudden you become a pure devotee. One has to take training. The principal part of which is to regularly hear the message of Shastra, that this material world is miserable. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this material existence is like a hole into which people pass through. So we may, unless we hear that, we'll think that, well, actually, this material world's quite nice after all. And because from time immemorial we are accustomed to seeing this world and everything within it as a place of our enjoyment, and everything we do as being for our own enjoyment, then we'll also take Krishna consciousness as something for our enjoyment. So you may think, well, yeah, I like when there's nice festivals and kirtans, but I don't like this, having to rise early in the morning, and that I don't like that. So that is the measure. Whether I like it or not becomes the measure, and that's not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means to understand what Krishna wants and to act according to his desire. So this idea that, well, I just feel happy and I get some blessings and that's it, finished. Where's the surrender? Where's the understanding? Where's the service? We're so accustomed to being superficial that we may take Krishna consciousness also in a superficial way. So it is the duty of the gurus and the preaching leaders not to present Krishna consciousness as something else superficial. That we are just good and nice and we're vegetarians and that's all. And we chant Hare Krishna. So, Sai Baba's also good and Mayavadis are also good and, eat whatever you like as long as it's vegetarian and like this, very loose. But Krishna consciousness means understanding what Krishna wants, which means actually to go against everything in this world. The whole flow of this world is away from Krishna. Preaching means to catch people and turn them around and go against the flow of the material world and turn toward Krishna. But we may think, well, that sounds too difficult. That people won't be prepared to accept that. And if we preach like that, people won't like us. That's very bad for preaching. If people don't like us, they should like us. So it's better to make friends with people and tell a few jokes with them and be friendly, and then people will like us. So they may like us, but in the same way that they like other people, that they don't really give a damn about you. They like you means they think you're harmless and insignificant. So we can go with the flow, but the flow of the material world goes away from Krishna. So what's the use? Unless people come to the understanding that there is nothing of any value in this world than service to Krishna, then by that misunderstanding they can never be Krishna conscious. Of course, there is a kind of Krishna consciousness in which, like many Hindus, they're from superficially Vaishnava families, so they go on with their material life. And they pray to Krishna, Krishna, please help me to pass the exam. They watch the TV. If they're very affectionate to their baby Krishna deity, they may make a special seat for him so that he can watch the TV along with them. And in this way they make Krishna an accomplice in their material life. And then we get, like the Christian priests blessing the racing cars. The football team takes the blessing from the local priest before they go for an important match. So we can have that kind of Krishna consciousness. We can spread it, but is it really worthwhile spreading such an insipid version of Krishna consciousness? We want that the High Court judge will be Krishna conscious. He will judge according to all the demoniac laws and have tilak on his forehead. That's not the main. Apparently Bhaktivedanta Thakur's, what was that? Bhaktivedanta Thakur said that Krishna conscious woman will be successful when the High Court judge has Vaishnava tilak. That means that all the laws should be adjusted to Krishna consciousness, not that he's giving judgment on all the not that some demoniac judge judging on the demoniac laws has Vaishnava tilak. Some years ago, one devotee introduced to me, this is a new life member I made. He's from a Vaishnava family, Vallabh Sampradaya in Gujarat. Said and I was told he was a doctor. So I asked him, what kind of doctor are you? He said, I'm a gynecologist. So I said, well, that means that you're mostly doing abortions, isn't it? He said, yes, I have my own clinic. And he didn't see any dichotomy between being a Vaishnava and being an abortionist and murderer. Maybe a very strict Vaishnava, he only eats food offered to Krishna. I doubt very much if he was that strict. But he identified himself as a Vaishnava and he's an abortionist. No one taught him that there's anything wrong with it. In fact, they think they're doing a service to society, keeping the population down. So, if we just thought, everything's nice, well, the main thing is to smile. Make everyone feel happy, superficial. Then we become the same as everyone else. Krishna eyes our superficiality. How do you translate that? Good luck. There's this idea of dovetailing everything in Krishna service. Krishna eyes everything. Krishna eyes. So we can Krishna eyes our materialistic education. We can have, just like you see in, especially in Andhra Pradesh, you'll find Srinivas poultry farm, Balaji wine shop. People think, it's quite normal. Because everyone's nice. Vaishnavas are nice. They don't do anything to harm, to make anyone feel upset. So his land's a very nice life member. He's contributing very nicely. He has a very good business. There's poultry farms in every district. Say, nice, very nice, very nice. Yeah, go on giving your donation. Very good. Krishna will be pleased. So actually to preach means to go against the current of the world. And the current of the world at the present time is particularly demoniac. It's a slaughterhouse civilization. Sometimes that's said allegorically. But literally it's a slaughterhouse civilization. I mean, most people eat food from slaughterhouses. So like that, we have dramas, festivals, public harinam, and book distribution. It's not that we necessarily walk up to give people a happy first impression of the Krishna consciousness movement. But we have a specific message also. And that message is a message which most people don't want to hear and may find it very difficult to hear. But if we don't say that message, then we're cheating others and we're cheating ourselves. And we are not representing the parampara. If we say that, material life is very good and it's very good, you should get lots of degrees and become a great doctor and a great engineer and so on and so on. We can say that and people may feel happy, but the actual fact is that everything in this material world except Krishna consciousness is useless. So, if we encourage people, yes, have a good career, have a good job, that's also preaching. Many people may feel inspired to do that. And if we tell the truth that only by pure devotional service to Krishna, devoid of any material desire, can one actually be a pure devotee, then maybe not so many people will take to that. So of course we don't expect everyone on the spot to give up all their material desires. And we don't even encourage people to try to do that, because we know that most people require time to become purified. So we don't say to every student, just stop your studies. We may say, go on with your study and chant Hare Krishna. We don't say to grihastas that leave your family. We say, stay with your family and chant Hare Krishna. But we should also tell them that the goal of life is not fulfilled by simultaneously cultivating material desires and chanting Hare Krishna. Ultimately material desires have to be given up. Now, we may think that, we can tell all the students, yes, have a great career, study a lot, it's very good, you can also chant Hare Krishna, and in this way our movement will be more successful, we'll have many followers. Having many followers is not necessarily the sign of actual preaching. And the danger with that is that we very soon we end up with a movement when we have people chanting Hare Krishna and running abortion clinics. You may say, that's not possible. But once you start to compromise, there's no end to it. In original Christianity, they were vegetarians. Now, vegetarianism is considered wrong in Christianity. Even in Hindu culture, up until recent time, it was understood that abortion is very sinful. But now they think it's normal. Hindus used to kill Muslims because the Muslims killed the cows. But nowadays, almost all Hindus who have cows sell their cows for slaughter. People's way of thinking can change because they're materially motivated. They have no clear knowledge of or training in spiritual knowledge. And they're interested in sense gratification. Therefore they cannot distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So in our Krishna conscious movement, if we promote that yes, you be materialistic and chant Hare Krishna. Very good, very nice. Then in a short time we'll have the Bhaktivedanta abortion clinic. And I'm not joking. Just like Srinivas hatcheries. It's not we laugh, but it's actually a fact. There are hundreds of Srinivas hatcheries, Balaji wine shops, and the time will come when we have the Bhaktivedanta abortion clinic. I'm telling you, write it down, see the date, let's see how many years. And it will be justified, you see, time, place and circumstance. The scriptures were written for a different time, times have changed. And you see, I donate 20,000 rupees a month from the Prophet to the temple. And I'm very strict vegetarian most of the time. So these contaminations can enter. So this idea that you just encourage people. You chant Hare Krishna and you'll get this material benefit and that material benefit. You have a very successful career, and if we think that, well, we'll just tell people that, and once they chant Hare Krishna, then naturally they'll change. But that's not necessarily true. That if they're cultivating Nam Aparada, from Nam Aparada, Shuddha Nam does not come. Sometimes the example of Dhruva Maharaj is given. He performed bhakti with a material desire. And sometimes it's quoted, Akama Sarva Kamova, even if one has all material desires, he should worship the Supreme Lord. But the important word here is Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, that one should follow, even if one has all desires, one should follow the process of Bhakti Yoga intensely. Not that you have all material desires and then you do a little Hare Krishna here and there. But like Dhruva Maharaj, if one intensely applies himself to devotional service, where that means that he did nothing but devotional activity, day and night, with no sense gratification, and from under the direction of a pure devotee, and by that he became purified. But the idea that you simultaneously cultivate material desires and do a little, mix that up with a little bhakti, that is not pure devotional service. It will not lead to pure devotional service. So I've said these things many times. I feel the need to state these points repeatedly in various ways, because there is confusion on these points in and around our movement and being propagated within it, which creates confusion. So, to make the point clear for those who would like to, those who are interested to understand these points, I'm attempting to clarify them. I'm under pressure from various sources here to advertise this CD, which is available here. See, I'm caught between my different disciples. It's not for you.
No.
It's not for you.
You don't give your lecture. You don't give Prabhupada lecture.
We have a subversive activity going on here. You'll make it more popular. by all right. Yeah, it'll become more popular. It's underground. This is like the coming to dance on the stage and holding the veil. You have something valuable to say. What is being said is appreciated. And then you say, well, no one should appreciate it. I wanted to speak about that actually, but I'll maybe speak about that tomorrow.
I have no problem with what you're saying with that. The fact is that devotees are not done our lectures, don't give your lectures, and now they should be able to. That's nice. If they give 10 lectures a lot, then they can get maybe 5 lectures.
All right, how about that? Recently I was in Dubai and some devotees spoke to me about your visit there. That you said the same points as me, but in a more jolly way. So maybe the method of delivery was more suited, that people could take it. Just like the medicine, sometimes you have to put a sugar-coated pill, otherwise people won't take it. So I'll sit in one place and I'll give lectures to you only. That you can go all over the world and say the same thing in a jolly way. It's one possibility. Alright, Hare Krishna. Alright, so, yeah. You should listen to 10 lectures of Prabhupada and then listen to one of mine. And then listen to 10 of mine.